Hello everyone, I'm LadyLazyPup and welcome back to another speed build. Today is a kind of a special one, honestly, because we are doing a build specifically for my career legacy challenge here on YouTube. So if you haven't checked that out, feel free, enjoy. We are going into the second generation and we are going to university. As you can see, we are doing a dorm today. Well, I decided when we got to this dorm, I was like, okay, look, I need to renovate this. I feel like it was just too open, too big, and I want it to be a little bit more cozy, a little bit more realistic, if you will. So I wanted to make sure that my sim got the full experience of university and living in the dorms. So he actually is going to be in a triple room, which is what I chose originally. And I was just like, it's just so spacious. It's so nice. You can actually play soccer in here. That doesn't feel right to me. So we did make all of the rooms a little bit smaller. And of course, I just wanted to kind of make it more mine, a little bit more different, just a little bit nicer feeling. Since this is actually a part of my real save, I first took everything out of the rooms that looked like something a student would have brought with them because I was like, oh, I can't be rude and just take away all their stuff. So I did go through each room and was like, okay, get the little figurines out of here, the lamps and all of that, and I just kind of put them on the balcony for safekeeping until the end. But then we got rid of everything. I pretty much deleted everything and wanted to start from blank. And I even got rid of like the windows and doors eventually as well. And I kind of kept a similar layout, right? And I really wanted it to feel kind of similar to the way it was. I didn't want to go too crazy and be like, oh, I'm going to add another floor and all of that. So I did keep it very similar to the way it was and kept the bones, right? I wanted to keep the bones. The only thing I did do, I wanted to make the outside a little bit more interesting, so I changed the roof and then we kind of shrunk in a couple of the sides just to make it a little bit different. It did take a few tries to figure out, okay, how do I actually want this layout to be? One of my first, I put the bathroom in like in the middle with like a hallway around it and then the dorms around that so you can enter it on either side. I didn't think it was going to be big enough because of how big those stalls were, so I didn't even bother with that. Instead, I was just like, okay, get rid of everything. I want like a nice living space for them to be. I was like, I wanted a couple more options for the actual dorms themselves. So it would be kind of cool to have two doubles, a triple, and then two singles. That was like what I was thinking would be the best. I wanted actually more because I was like, oh, what if I just really packed it in here and we had a ton? It was like, that's just not going to function properly gameplay wise, so I didn't go with that, but we did go with quite a few number of beds, and I think it actually works out really well. The bathroom itself is really simple, right? We have the three stalls, we have the few showers, and then we have the sinks where they can, wash their hands, brush their teeth, all of that good stuff. So, really, I think all I did with this one was like flip it. I think I ended up putting the elevator on the opposite side than it originally was, and then just kind of like flipping the bathroom around just so that the layout felt a little cleaner for us. And then we were able to have enough sinks to, I guess, toilet ratio, right? So there's three sinks and three toilets, and then we had a number of showers. I think I had five, right? Or we ended up with four showers. So one more extra like shower to toilets, but I think that's okay. It was kind of hard to fit more toilets. I kind of wanted to be able to fit more, or at least like have half to go with how many students were, and then having to take care of like all the guests and everything too. But I was like, you know what, this is fine. It makes it a little bit more challenging for them to get a bathroom or a shower, but that's all right. That's normal. That's realistic. And since this is Foxbury Institute, if you didn't realize, and then we're on Tidal Tower, I was like, well, the main color has to be red, of course, because we have Lobster Larry. So, of course, that's kind of like the main color with everything. And it also goes with like the black, white, and red, and kind of like a little grays in there too. But the dorms themselves get to be colorful and fun and bright and a little bit different, just so you have like a fun option to choose from for your sim. Since my sim is going to be staying in the triple, I was actually thinking of making that one into like a suite. So you'd have like the three singles with a common space and a small toilet. But I was like, that's just not going to work with here. Screw it. We have like the big bathroom already. We're going to have a full common area for all of the students on the floor. So I'm like, you know what? It's fine. We don't have to make that into a full suite. It's just going to be a bedroom like everybody else. But I did close off the main hallway so that even like that common space is going to have its own little area with the little archways there. And it's going to have a nice little kitchenette. It's going to have a nice little sitting space, you know, some dining tables, places where you could do your homework, you know, if you think about it that way, or they can just kind of like study together, hang out, and enjoy each other's company. Oh, that was the other color. There was the light blue that goes with Larry too, because of like the wave and you know the water. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Like I know I'm missing something. So there are a little light blue pops too, but it's a little bit more subtle. There's another build that you guys are going to get that has a little bit more blues in it because I liked having that as a contrast to the red. Outside wise, we did kind of keep it pretty simple. We have those benches that are out there, and I was like, oh, well, actually, those plants, if I push them up against the wall, it kind of looks like a full like set if you have two plants on either side and then the bench in the middle. So I did that on both ends of the dorm out on the balcony, and I pretty much kept these pretty barren. At the end, I end up putting one of the pong tables out there, the ping pong tables. And I figured that's kind of enough. If you wanted to use that space for working on a presentation, or you could put like an art easel out there, or whatever you want to use that you're working on for your sim, then there's a little bit of space for it. Or hey, if they're gonna have a keg party, uh, there's definitely enough space for that to be added out there for entertainment as well, or like if you want to put speakers, you know. So it works out, I think, just to have a little extra open space, but not too much. I do feel like the hallway came out kind of cute because I love this awful but like perfect red carpet that goes down the middle. It just feels very dorm. It feels very corporate, I guess is the thought process here, or like school wise. It just feels like one of those thick carpetings that are like really easy to take out and fix. But then I put on like the little cork board, and we have all the little accents and banners and stuff out there. It just feels like, yeah, the school of course would put all of these things out there, like the dorm people, you know, the RAs and all of that. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, well, let's put out some decoration and like flyers. And of course, we have to have the Bright Chester, like, no, screw the dragon type of thing. So, I mean, I just thought that was kind of fun. It made it feel a little bit more lived in and warm, and like they're trying to tell you stuff that's going on campus and like all the events and everything. So then in the actual common area, I did put a little kitchenette. It doesn't have a stove or an oven because you can't have those. I don't know where you guys are from or where you've gone to school, but in the US, you can't have anything that's going to like, you know, burn down the building. So typically anything that's going to cause a flame or like even a hot plate is kind of like a no-no in the dorm rooms. So in the game, I think it also it's like no, you cannot have an oven, right? You can't have an oven, you can have a stove. So we have like a little kitchenette area anyways though that has a microwave, coffee, tea, and a sink. And I felt like that was enough. You can bring your own mini fridge and then you can have that in your dorm, so it's kind of like, I'm gonna bring my mini fridge, you know, I have all my stuff in there, so it's like, well, if I need to warm something up, I can just take it out to the commons, warm it up in the microwave, yada yada. I thought that actually kind of was nice, and it felt a little bit more real too. So we have like these little tables, and of course I was like, yeah, I know, look, it's not just university and the base game, which is what my plan was, but the high school stuff actually worked really well here. So, I mean, look, there's only a few packs in this. It's okay. And actually, I think some of the packs that show up that it says it's in here, it was like, yeah, that's actually mainly because the students brought something that was from a different pack. And I just left it in there because that was what was happening in my gameplay. And I didn't want to remove it. But I think that's fine. We have a few different packs and it works well together. And then, of course, the other part of the common is going to be a nice little seating area with the TV. I kind of figured, okay, good study spot, or if you guys want to just like hang out, watch TV, play a game, whatever. It's a nice little common area, I think. It's a little bit more cozy than the one that was there originally. I feel like now there's actually tables where they can put the food on instead of putting it inside the bathrooms and on the counters there. Yeah, that's probably one of the main bonuses. For the walls, I was like, okay, I like this stripe that comes with the pack. So I was like, let's use that. And I was going to use it with the black, but I felt like it kind of darkened it a little too much. So we went with the white. But we have to have a fun accent wall that really brings in more of those red tones for Lobster Larry. So we had some fun, like finding like more geometric shapes to put in here. Since we have some shapes in the hallway, we have the hexagons and all the floors in the other rooms, and then we added more of those rectangle shapes on the walls in the common room. Then with the windows, I had removed them. I pretty much put the same ones back in. I don't think I put them in the exact same place, but I did want to use the same windows that, kept it all together. And the way I was doing it was each person and each bed kind of gets their own window. So I was setting it up where on either side of the room you'd get a long window. And then if you were lucky enough to live on the end here, you get like a nice long tall window. Well, I guess it's like a just high up window, so you get extra light in your room is what I'm saying. You get more natural light, which is always a plus. Then of course in the bathroom I was like, marble floors, a little too fancy, so we went with a nice plain white square for the flooring. And then on the walls, this is where I put the cinder block. Now in I'm doing this from a lot of experience because I'm like, I lived in the dorms when I was in college, and so it was like the walls were cinder block. That's what the walls were in like every dorm and all of that. I think it was just because easy to clean and stuff like that, and you could just paint it really easily. But it was all cinder block, so I was like, I don't want to do that to my poor Sim. Let's give him something nice to live with. But in the bathroom, let's have like the lovely cinder block walls. It's great. It's perfect. So we put those in there. But now comes the fun part. Okay, so I really liked getting to do this. Where I got to kind of design each room a little bit differently, right? They all have kind of the same furniture, different bedding, because I kept thinking, okay, kids are going to bring in their own bedding and different colors to bring out their personalities. And they're also going to come in, move the furniture around, put in their own objects, put in their own stuff, just to make it a little bit more theirs and a little bit more homey. And I probably will jump around a little bit here because, of course, I'm like trying to figure out, okay, layout. Do I just want the beds here and here? Do I want to loft it? I didn't end up lofting any of these beds, which I thought could have been a good way to make it a little bit different. But I liked the beds that came with, and since they were all the same, I was like, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to use the ones from university and keep it all the same here. But I do like the idea of lofting some of these beds and putting like the desk underneath, so you could always change that, right? You could always bring it in and be like, oh, my sim decided to loft their bed just so they could have a little bit more space. But a lot of my plan was, okay, they're going to want to have their own like area. They're going to kind of like do mirror images of each other. They're going to have like their own little desk space. And I like that this one has a little locker that has like books in it. So they're like, oh yeah, let's just push that up against the closet. It kind of feels like it fits. But it was a nice area to add a little bit more storage for them. The singles obviously have more space, so I was like, oh, this one, I'm gonna give them a mini fridge. They're gonna have like everything a little bit more turned and spread out, and it just feels like, yeah, this is my own domain. But it still all kind of fits together. And like looking at this one, I do feel like this Sim's a little bit more introverted, a little bit kind of like, I'm on my own, but at the same time, I like having the experience of being at the dorm, or if this was like the cheaper option, of course, they're like going to live here, but they're like, I don't want a roommate, which is understandable. Sometimes you just like, I don't need a roommate. But then we go next door where they do actually have a roommate. And I thought this one was kind of fun because I pretty much used the desk and the dresser with the drawers in it that's a little taller to kind of like separate the space in the front and the back of the room. So it's kind of like, okay, now they have like the little space that they sleep in. And then in the front of the room, that's where they have their desk and they can study and do all of that. But it kind of feels a little bit more private. It feels like they're kind of creating a little like extra room in their area. I was debating on using the dividers and those little spacer windows, but I was like, it just felt like too much. It felt too busy once I put those in. So I kept it a little bit more empty. And then I actually was debating on putting like some pillows back here because I was like, oh, what if we had like little like pillows and then maybe they put like a TV up on the one big dresser and then it kind of looks like they would sit on the floor and watch TV or work on homework. So I mean that's an option. So if you feel like putting the pillows there, you absolutely can. I just didn't end up doing it. The second single room, which is like the pink one, I do have it set up a little bit differently. It's huge. It's definitely the same size as the double across the hallway, but there's only a single bed in it. And in my head, what I was thinking is that this person, this sim, bought out the full room so that they could make it into a single and have a lot more space to themselves. But it actually was a double originally, so another bed would absolutely fit in here. But I feel like this person's a little bit more experted because they have like this nice little seating spot where they can watch TV and maybe invite a friend over and all of that good stuff. So I thought that was kind of like a fun way to dress that one up. And then, of course, we have the triple. Now, the triple is I did that on purpose. I wanted it to feel like it's just packed full of furniture. They were trying to make it where they could all fit really easily, but they could have all their stuff and still kind of make the corners and the spaces their own, which I think makes sense. You know, if you think about it, you're just like, okay, how do we arrange this to make this work? Now, this would probably be another one which would be perfect for having a lofted bed, and then they put their desk underneath it. So I'm in my head, the purple bed would probably be the one that gets lofted, and they would shove their desk underneath it. It gives a little bit more space to the rest of the room, but we kept it this way for now just to keep it a little squishy. And of course, these students had the bright idea of putting a bookcase at the door area at the foot of the one bed so that it kind of divides the space a little bit more. It gives a more communal space, kind of like in that middle with the chairs and the little table, and then where, of course, my sim Jasper brought his mini fridge. It kind of, it's added to the space. Everybody's allowed to use it. That's totally fine. But it makes it feel a little bit more cohesive that way. And I just think it's kind of fun that they decided to use the bookcase as a divider. I didn't live in a triple. I had a couple friends who lived in more like a suite style, which is what I was thinking of before, and who lived in like a triple like this as well. I feel like it would just be too much. It would be kind of too much with a roommate. I had a roommate for a couple of years. I was in a single the other years, so that was actually kind of nice. But sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know, it's having a roommate that you could make a friend and all that stuff, but it can always feel a little bit too much. I don't know. Do you guys have horror stories? I feel like there's always a person with a roommate horror story, and it's just kind of sad and sucks, but it happens. It does happen. What I'm thinking is Jasper probably won't stay in the room like the full time. He might stay here for like the first term, and I don't know, maybe he'll be like, oh, you know what, maybe I kind of feel like having a single, or if he joins like the fraternity, you can move out over there or get like his own little apartment area. I was kind of debating on making like a kind of like a frat house, I guess, or off-campus dorm slash like apartment building where it's mostly students, or like in my head canon, it would be mostly students living there, also going to school at the college. So I don't know, maybe I'll work on something like that too late in the future if we decide that's what he wants to do. Of course, now I'm trying to debate on whether I want to put cinder blocks in the hallway as well, and I decided against it. I was like, we'll just keep it in the bathroom. But I also added a couple of computers in the hallway. just for that are like communal computers, so you can use those if you didn't bring one or if you don't have a laptop. In my head, it was like, oh, this is where you could go over here and you could print stuff off if you needed anything for a class. But I think that's actually really helpful, especially in a dorm situation like this. So then, of course, I was like, okay, let's just add in the final touches, some extra details, some just like nice decorations all over the place. So if they're like, we need like a lamp in a corner, I did put in like the cute little long cork board that has like pictures on it because I felt like, oh, that could be like a nice thing that everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna put my picture up here. Then it's like a great way to get to know each other or like your families and all of that cute stuff. Had to have a lobster Larry somewhere in here, so of course we have a couple figurines in the main space too. I do love the fact that we have like the Sims who live here are just kind of like standing around and kept moving them or like trapping them in the walls. I'm like, I'm gonna get one of these guys killed by accident. It's my bad. I'm so sorry. But they all do have like face paint and the school colors on because there was a game that day and that I paused and was like, okay, let's do the renovation. So it's just kind of funny to see them standing around. And of course, I couldn't just like end it without putting all of their stuff back too. So I did make sure to put all of their stuff back, and I tried to make sure I put it with whose stuff it was. So of course, I divided it out into each corner, which made it a little bit easier. So all of their stuff is put back in their respective dorms on their respective sides, hopefully. But they can enjoy it. You know, they can move it around however they please. But I think it actually worked out, and it does make it feel a little bit more lived in having their stuff just on their desks and dressers and everything, which is kind of cute. Also, who just brings a giant crystal to school? I don't know. It's massive. It's not even like a cut one. You know, I was kind of expecting it to be like a cut gem. No, it's just a massive crystal. It's fine. We'll put it in display. I did make sure to add some plants on the outside just to jazz it up a little bit, and that we had enough lighting for if they were outside on the balcony when it's at night. So it's nice and bright and lit up, and it's cute. And of course, this is also where I end up adding in the ping pong table. So we are close to the end of this build, so I'm just going to say it now. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you're enjoying it, if you liked it. So make sure to subscribe if you aren't already, because I do more of this, have some Let's Plays, play some other games. We have a good time here. And then also, comment down below, which dorm, if you were to go to university, which dorm would you have chosen out of all of these rooms? What looks fun to you? What speaks your name? Let me know in the comments down below. But, of course, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're excited, and maybe you'll check out our Let's Play as well and see what Jasper gets up to in university. But I'm just going to say now, keep crafting, keep gaming, stay lazy. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody!